Would I be the asshole if I dropped out as a bridesmaid a week before the wedding because of what happened at the bachelorette? So I'm a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding. She just had a bachelorette party at the groom's family's cabin for 2 nights. It started off okay, but as the attendants got more and more drunk, the racism and anti-Semitism started coming out. For context, everyone else in the wedding party is white. I am mixed Jewish and Filipina. My part of the party was to put on a tea party in the afternoon. I spent weeks hand decorating a tea set as a wedding present. Weddings are huge in my culture and I wanted to share that joy. I bought and cooked a bunch of my cultural food, but the basic stuff, even Western people food, like lumpia, baked desserts, and skyflakes with cheese and meat. I of course checked with the bride and maid of honor beforehand, and both of that would be okay, with the bride saying she loved lumpia. I was so proud of it and it looked beautiful all set up, but immediately some of the bridal party started making the ew ethnic food faces. One of them chased around another with a sweet bun, laughing about how weird and scary it was. It was literally bread and cream. I sent pictures of my setup to other friends to see if it's something I did wrong, and everyone said it looked amazing. Edit, because I need to be precise. People did say thank you, including the bride. They said the setup was very pretty. It was the reaction to the food by some of them, family of the groom who also made the Auschwitz jokes, that I was describing. That being said, almost nobody spoke during the tea party portion and blamed it on being tired. The bride and friends did not say anything about the reactions of the other girls. The main feedback I got was that I was clearly a witch because my tea put everyone to sleep. It was hibiscus, rose, mint, and calamansi. But oh well, maybe that food isn't for them. I moved on. But then the racist jokes started. The party had started on Juneteenth. You can imagine the jokes that came out of that. Then anti-Semitic jokes about Holocaust camps and more. This is a direct quote. I say a lot of Nazi and Holocaust jokes for someone who isn't racist. I was trapped on a boat with them when this started happening. Later that night, as I was grabbing something from a room to then leave, the main perpetrator said to someone I considered a close friend, "I was worried you'd be offended by the Auschwitz jokes because you're German." That friend replied she wasn't offended. I spoke up. "Well, I might be offended because I'm Jewish." I got up to leave with my stuff and the girl said she's going back to Auschwitz. That's crazy. That's literally crazy. My friend, the bride, everyone laughed. I went outside and I cried. They saw me from the window when they all came to eat food. Not a single one of my friends came to check up on me. The vibes continued along that line, and I felt like I was the Jewish/Asian version of Get Out, stuck in a giant home with a bunch of racist white people. But honestly, the fear from it wasn't the worst part. It was that not a single one of my friends said anything. I then was in a 4-hour car ride with one of said friends/bridesmaids on my way home. She spent the last hour of it lecturing me on how she's someone who can be cordial around people she doesn't agree with, but not everyone has that skill, especially when it's personal, and that I need to put myself in other people's shoes and see that they have positive intentions, and more. For context, this cabin was 4 hours away, and I have a pretty moderate disability. I was using 110% of my energy for this, and had no energy left by the end of it. I pushed myself to extremes for these friends and the bride, and it was reciprocated with laughing and anti-Semitic jokes at my expense. The wedding is next weekend. I can barely see from the migraine I have, and my legs are struggling with walking. I don't feel it's worth it to hurt myself for someone who couldn't bother to stand up for me or even check on me after. All of my friends of color agree with me, but this is my high school friend group. I grew up in a very white town, and I also feel guilty like I'm letting them down. I'm not quite sure what to do, so Reddit, please help me out. Before I read the edit, dude, your friends are assholes. Literally, I wouldn't even go. I would ghost them. Because that's messed up. Edit. I was a history major, which makes the whole thing even worse, so I have to add context that I didn't realize I missed until the comments. The friend in the car is the friend who said she wasn't offended by the Holocaust jokes to the person. She was asked by the jokester because she's German and lives in Germany. In the car, she did say that she was absolutely against the concentration camp joke, and that she feels guilty. She didn't say anything. The words "I'm sorry" never came out of her mouth, though. But then I brought up the other stuff with the food and racist comments, and that's when she went on that tangent. She also said that she saw the racism, but told me in those situations you just have to ignore it and choose to not be around those people again. As she knew there was racism happening, including towards me, and didn't say anything or check in on me, I will be choosing to not be around her again. I also told her repeatedly that I didn't want to talk about this now because I was so physically done, and she said, "This is my car and I am driving. I don't want to be uncomfortable and have this tension here. We are talking." I have a vocal cord disorder and my speaking is limited, so I didn't say much, and I didn't want to get dropped off on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. I told her she crossed a boundary she can't come back from, though. The people making racist jokes were the siblings slash cousins of the groom. My friends were the ones laughing along and not saying anything. I have been long distance with these friends since high school. The friend in the car with me was in a social justice club with me in high school. There was not signs of this behavior before from either this friend or the bride. In fact, the bride went with me to an anti-ICE fundraiser party earlier this year, and we had a lot of fun. I've never been shy with my opinions, especially as someone who studied history. This was the first time I was hanging with them around a bunch of other people. In reviewing these comments, I have realized they may not be racist with me before, but didn't stop or say anything about racism when it happened, which is in fact racism. That is a key difference. I am also more white than not. I am ethnically Jewish, but not religiously. I often don't feel like I have a right to be upset about these things because of other family have gone through worse. That's something I'm working to unlearn, and this was definitely some exposure therapy to that. Why didn't I say anything at the party? Because I was in the middle of nowhere surrounded by drunk people making racist comments at me. I have survived violence before and know that sometimes keeping your mouth shut is what needs to happen until you're in a safe space. Lastly, I will not be going to the wedding. Very good. I agree, don't go to the wedding. This is posted on r/confessions 13 days ago on an account that's deleted. I dump garbage on my neighbor's front steps on a random day of each month. He's an elderly man. He doesn't have any Ring doorbell cameras or any cameras in general. I enjoy doing it. I look forward to dumping garbage on his doorstep each month. You might be wondering to yourself, why is Opie doing this to an elderly man? He's such an asshole. Which, to be fair, I am an asshole, but I do have a reason for it. 4 months ago, he kicked my pregnant cat while he was out on a walk. I saw him do it. It wasn't an accident either. He deliberately stopped walking, turned to my cat, and kicked her. So now I'm being a petty asshole to him by filling up a garbage can each month, and then at 2 a.m. on a random day of the month, I dump it all on his front doorstep, because if you're gonna harm my cat, I'm gonna make you miserable whenever I can. I agree with that. This person's not in the wrong. Am I the asshole for refusing to keep inviting my sister after what she did at my birthday? So I, 24F, had my birthday a couple weeks ago, and I invited my parents, my sister, 27F, some of my friends, and my boyfriend over. Nothing huge, just a dinner and cake at my apartment. My sister has always been the type that kind of has to be the center of attention, but usually I just ignore it because everyone says that's just how she is. Well, halfway through the dinner, she starts making jokes about how my apartment looks like an IKEA display because I like everything matching. Everyone laughed a little, and I laughed too because whatever. But then she kept going and started making comments about my job, saying at least someone has to make enough money to buy fake plants. And then she brought up something really embarrassing from high school that I haven't thought about in years. At that point, I was honestly just annoyed because it stopped feeling like jokes and more like she was trying to get everyone laughing at me. My boyfriend even changed the subjects a few times, but she kept bringing it back. After everyone left, she texted me saying I was acting weird all night, and I told her yeah, because she wouldn't stop making fun of me. She said I was being dramatic and that no one else had a problem with it. Fast forward to now, and my mom asked if my sister was coming to the barbecue I'm hosting next month, and I said no. I don't really want her there. She's just going to spend the whole time taking shots at me. Now, my mom is upset, saying I'm creating family drama over a few jokes, and my sister says I'm punishing her over nothing. Part of me feels like maybe I should just let it go because it was only one night, but also I don't really want to spend another event waiting for the next comment. I don't think you're the asshole for that. I think that you should be allowed to curate your own environment, and also you don't have to let someone into your space in your home if they make you uncomfortable or something like that. The first comment, mom doesn't have to come either. Am I the asshole for questioning my relationship with my dad after he prioritized his girlfriend over me during my wedding? Me, 25F, and my husband, 27M, recently eloped in Australia. Because we're Canadian, we had to complete the legal paperwork in Canada before we left. It wasn't a wedding or a celebration, it was literally just signing paperwork so our elopement would be legal. We kept it as small as possible. The only people there were me, my husband, my brother, and his fiance as our witnesses, and I invited my mom and dad as courtesy. A few weeks beforehand, my dad, 62M, asked if he could bring his girlfriend, early 50s F, who he's been dating for about a year and a half. For context, I've only met her 3 times before. I politely told him no. I explained that this wasn't our wedding, there wasn't a reception, and it wasn't meant to be a family gathering. It was simply the legal paperwork before we left for Australia. He said he understood. Then the day came, and he showed up late and with her anyway. I was shocked. It felt so awkward because this was supposed to be such a small, private moment with just the people who were directly involved. His girlfriend and I barely know each other, and I couldn't understand why she was there when I had already explained that this wasn't a wedding celebration or a family event. It was just paperwork before we left for our elopement. But I didn't want to start anything before legally marrying my husband, so I swallowed my feelings and let it go. After the paperwork was signed, my husband suggested we take some photos. My husband and I got a few couple pics. I got one with my brother, then I wanted one with both my parents. My parents have been divorced for over 15 years, so this wasn't about pretending to be a family again. I literally just wanted to take a picture with my mom and dad on an important day in my life. Instead, my dad stood several feet away from me, barely smiled, and looked like he didn't even want to be in the photo. It honestly made me feel like taking a simple photo with his daughter was somehow uncomfortable for him. As we were leaving, I walked over to his girlfriend, smiled, said it was nice to see her, offered her a hug, and even invited her to join us for lunch afterward. I was genuinely trying to be kind and welcoming, even though I was still confused as to why she was there in the first place after my dad confirmed with me that she wouldn't be attending. Instead, she glared at me, rejected the hug, curtly said no, and immediately took my dad's hand and started pulling him away. I was honestly shocked. This was supposed to be a small, meaningful moment for me and my husband, and somehow I was the one being treated like I had done something wrong. I was trying to include her and be polite on a day that was supposed to be about us, so I didn't understand why she seemed so upset with me. Honestly, my theory is that she's upset that the dad has to be around his ex, maybe. Maybe it's just a jealous girlfriend and she's not happy. My dad originally insisted we all go for lunch afterward. He had even offered to treat everyone. Instead, he gave me a quick, half-hearted apology, said he had to leave, wished us well, and walked away with his girlfriend. My husband and I ended up paying for the lunch ourselves. I tried not to let it ruin the day because we were leaving for Australia in the evening. Our elopement and honeymoon were incredible, and I didn't want this hanging over me. But now that we're home, I finally had time to process everything, and I can't stop thinking about how abandoned I felt. Now we're having a very small dinner to celebrate with the people closest to us. It's intimate, literally just our parents, siblings, grandparents, and a few close friends. My dad asked if he could bring his girlfriend again. This time, I said no even more firmly. I reminded him that I'd already said no once before. He ignored my wishes anyway, and given how uncomfortable the legal ceremony became, I wasn't comfortable inviting her to such a small and personal celebration. His response? He told me he has trouble with confrontation and doesn't know how to tell her she isn't invited. He also said she won't like it and that he wants her there. I explained that if we were having a 150-person wedding reception, this would be different, but we're not. This dinner is intentionally tiny, and every guest was chosen carefully. Now I'm left feeling like my dad is more worried about upsetting his girlfriend of 1.5 years than hurting his own daughter. I understand that confrontation is hard for some people, but I don't think it's fair that the solution becomes me giving up my boundaries so he doesn't have to deal with an uncomfortable conversation. What hurts the most is that I don't feel like I'm asking him to choose between me and his girlfriend. I'm asking him to respect a boundary I set for a very small, meaningful celebration. But after everything that happened at the legal ceremony, it's hard not to feel like he chose keeping her happy over showing up for me. I honestly don't know what to think anymore, but this whole situation has made me question my relationship with my dad. I always imagined my dad would be someone who would want to make me feel loved and supported during major life moments, and instead I feel like I was the person whose feelings were easiest to dismiss. So, am I the asshole for questioning my relationship with my dad after he prioritized his girlfriend over me during my wedding? No, you're not the asshole. Not even close to being an asshole. If he can't have that conversation with his girlfriend, then I honestly wouldn't even invite him to the dinner. It doesn't seem worth it having someone so negative and someone who very obviously doesn't like you at your celebration, like your actual celebration. I don't think that's worth it. Am I the asshole? Worker helped himself to a beer in my fridge, so I'm trying to figure out if I'm the asshole or not. I have one friend who absolutely agrees with me, one friend who is indifferent, and one who thinks it wasn't a big deal. This is lengthy and I apologize for that. I don't see any other way to disseminate the facts otherwise. For reference, I am in South Florida. I needed to have my house tented for termites. I got several quotes, picked a company, and hired them to do work. Prior to the tenting, I hired a cleaning crew to come in the day after the tent came down, once the house was cleared, to help put away everything that was removed and clean out the cabinets and refrigerator since all the food was pretty much taken out. I scheduled with the tenting company, confirming that they would clear the house first thing in the morning. This way the cleaning crew could schedule the arrival time. The tent went on, the fumigation was done the next day, and the tent came down. The following day, they were supposed to show up first thing in the morning to clear the house and let us know we can go back in. I have cameras inside my house and outside my house. The gentleman showed up at 9 a.m. to clear the house, opened the doors, let the house air out for half an hour, and then went in to test air quality and remove any of their equipment. With the cameras, I knew he was there and I could see him moving throughout my home. Bro's just literally watching these people do their job. At approximately 9:45, I watched the technician come out of one of my rooms and put something in his pocket. I was able to pull down the video, slow it down, and zoom in, and apparently he decided to help himself to a beer out of my refrigerator. I watched him slip it into his pocket, pull his shirt down over it, and then walk out the front door. This I found to be highly unacceptable. I don't care about the beer. I don't care about the value of the beer. I was angry that this employee felt it was acceptable to go through property that is not his and help himself to something. If he had called and asked if we had anything to drink in the house, my wife or I would have absolutely told him to help himself. Not that I think drinking a beer at 9:45 in the morning is appropriate. I'm also sure that he did not get back into the work truck and put the beer away for the end of the day, but him drinking on the job is between him and his employer. Regardless, he left my property at approximately 10 a.m. Once I saw him remove the beer from my home, I tried contacting the office because I was quite livid. I could not get anyone from the company on the phone or via text. Both are means of communication that I had been in touch with them previously. Furthermore, no one called me to tell me the house was clear. My wife insisted we are not going in our home until somebody does call us and tell us that the house is clear. No, we were not at the home when all this took place. We stayed with some friends for the couple of days during the process. Someone finally texted me at noon to let me know that the house was clear. I called the number and was not only angry about the beer, but I was further ticked off because the cleaning crew had shown up, and since they could not get in the house and I could not give them permission to go into the house, they left, which screwed up the rest of our day. I contacted the owner of the company, which is who texted me that the house was clear. I advised him that his employee had removed property from my home and I had it on video. He asked me what it was. I said, I'm not going to tell you. You need to have a conversation with him first and see what he says. He called me back and said the employee says he didn't take anything. I sent him the video and he agreed it was very clear that he had. The employee then admitted that he had helped himself to a beer from our refrigerator. The owner found this to be no big deal. He said if it's a big deal, I'll replace the beer. I explained that it's not about the beer. It's that I entrusted him with our home and his employee felt entitled enough to go through someone's property and help himself to what he wanted. When you tent, you have to give the company the keys to your home. I got over them not calling me as I was scheduled. I wanted to leave a scathing review in multiple places, including the video. However, my wife advised me not to, as she was concerned regarding repercussions from this employee. Additionally, the employee was not terminated. According to the owner, he was reprimanded. The owner stated the employee made a mistake. My question is, am I the asshole for being as pissed off as I was regarding the employee helping himself to the beer in my refrigerator and expecting a different reaction from the company owner? I don't think you're an asshole for that, and I think that the owner should probably care a little bit more that his employees are stealing from the people, like their customers, because like if word did get out that that was happening and like you have proof that the owner just doesn't care, like that can't be good for the company at all. This commenter says, I had a plumber in to fix a leak in my bathroom. He took an entire prescription bottle of Percocet. I reported him to the state licensing board. As you should. Am I the asshole for buying myself flowers? My fiance, M34, and I, 23F, have been together for 2.5 years. I've been wanting flowers and mentioning it for months because he never got me any. When I had my bridal shower, June 14th, he finally brought me flowers for the first time and said that his mom told him to do it. Today's the 30th for reference. Today, I went to the grocery store and the rose bouquet was 10 Canadian dollars. When I get groceries, I pay with his credit card because we live together and he pays for that kind of thing. So I bought the flowers and groceries with his credit card and sent him a picture of me with the bouquet saying thank you. He got furious. He said I was making a joke at his expense, rubbing it in his face, and that he was actually thinking about getting the flowers today, but I stole the chance from him. Am I the asshole? In your 2.5-year relationship, never got you flowers before except for when his mommy told him to? Like, yeah, he was not gonna get you flowers. And I think you should buy more flowers on his credit card. Am I the asshole? I don't want to stay at my boyfriend's place because he has roaches and lives with a girl he and all his friends slept with. Yeah, as the title says, this girl my boyfriend knows slept with all the guys in his group, and for some reason my boyfriend had no issue sleeping with her either. Now this girl is dating my boyfriend's roommate, and she's always staying at their place, and I just don't feel comfortable being there. I'm not judging her more than I'm already judging him, but I just don't want to be a part of whatever that dynamic is. Girl, leave him. Like, what? You don't have to be with that guy. In addition, my boyfriend has German roaches and a plastic wrapping on his mattress from when he had bed bugs a year ago. He's pissed I never want to stay over even though I live alone in a nicer place and thinks I'm being unfair. He's used this as a reason for why we're not compatible, but to be honest, I don't think he realizes how weird his living situation is. Am I the asshole? Should I try harder to make this happen to make him happy? No, but there's an update. Clearly did not expect this to blow up. I wrote this in a comment below, but yes, I have low self-esteem. I got out of a terrible relationship prior to this guy, which was abusive and left me feeling like I didn't even deserve even the bare minimum. I hope whoever is reading this has the capacity to understand that we all make excuses for some insane shit if we don't love ourselves enough. That's where I'm at right now. To this guy's credit, he's doing what he can to get rid of the bugs. It's more so about the fact that he didn't respect my boundary and used that to make me feel bad. That's really the red flag here. And as for the girl, I have no judgment for her, more so him for telling me about that scenario and being confused that I wasn't comfortable with knowing about it. I wouldn't call this gaslighting, but maybe just immaturity and an asshole behavior. Anyway, I broke up with him. W, breaking up with him. W, having respect for yourself. L, gross ass man. Am I the asshole for telling my cousin that's why you're single? Yesterday, I went to the beach with my aunt and one of my cousins. I'm the youngest of the group at 37. Today is my birthday and we were celebrating early by going out to the beach. Drinking was involved, which is likely why it blew up like it did. We had been at the beach for a few hours by this point and were debating extending our parking for a bit more time. My cousin, M, starts loudly trying to get me to turn around and look at a woman walking by. He was saying some pretty vulgar stuff like, "You just know she likes it dirty and in the butt," and other random and other random gross comments. He was saying it loudly enough that she could hear, and when she passed us, she turned and looked at us. So I looked at him and said, "This is why you're single." He kind of laughed and said something to me in an attempt to clap back, but then said, "You know that's a hurtful thing to say, right?" I told him that I wasn't really concerned with his hurt feelings after all the gross shit he had said while he was basically catcalling a woman walking by, which, by the way, that's not basically catcalling, that is catcalling. This resulted in us both shouting at each other and just packing up to leave. After dropping him off at his apartment, my aunt, his mother, said I didn't need to be mean to him. But like, if you're standing around shouting vulgar shit, don't be all surprised Pikachu face when someone calls you out for it. Was I really wrong? Am I the asshole because of what I said and because I said I didn't care about his feelings? No. You're hella not the asshole. Your cousin's the asshole. His mom defending him probably explains why he never learned better. True. Am I the asshole for cutting off my daughter after she slept with her sister's husband? I, 59F, have two daughters, Emma, 35F, and Chloe, 33F. Emma has been married to her husband, 36M, for 11 years, and they have two children together. Chloe's been married to her husband, 34M, for 8 years, and they have one 5-year-old son. About 6 weeks ago, Emma called me just after midnight, completely hysterical. She told me she suspected for months that her husband was hiding something. He'd become distant, constantly guarded his phone, and was always finding excuses to stay late at work. That night, after he fell asleep beside her, she looked through his phone for the first time. She found years of explicit messages between him and Chloe. The affair had been going on for almost 4 years. Oh my god, that's half their marriage. Emma was devastated. She kept asking me how her own sister could do this to her. A few days later, we were at my brother's birthday party when Emma confronted Chloe outside. Chloe denied everything at first and insisted Emma had misunderstood. When Emma said she'd read the messages herself, Chloe completely fell apart. She started crying, admitted the affair, and kept repeating, "I don't know why I did it. I'm so sorry. It was the biggest mistake of my life." Emma asked how 4 years could possibly be a mistake. Chloe had no answer. The argument escalated into a screaming match. Chloe tried to slap Emma, but several relatives stepped in before she could. Chloe's husband quietly took their son home after realizing what had happened. Within days, he told Chloe he wanted a divorce. Emma also filed for divorce after her husband admitted everything. After it all came out, Chloe called me 82 times in one day. I answered once because I was hoping she was calling to explain herself. Instead, she cried the entire time, begging me not to abandon her. She said she'd already lost her husband, was probably going to lose shared custody of her son, and couldn't bear losing her mother too. She said she knew she didn't deserve forgiveness, but begged me not to hate her forever. I told her I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. I said this wasn't one bad decision, it was years of lying to her sister, her husband, and the rest of us. I told her I loved her because she was my daughter, but I didn't want contact with her for the foreseeable future. Since then, I've ignored every attempt she's made to reach out. This is where my family thinks I'm wrong. My sisters say Chloe has already lost everything: her marriage, her relationship with her sister, many of her friends, and likely the family she dreamed of giving her son. They say she's genuinely remorseful, has started individual therapy, and isn't trying to justify what she did. They argue that if a mother won't stand by their child after they've hit rock bottom, who will? They also remind me that cutting Chloe off means my grandson is growing up without his grandmother, even though he's done nothing wrong. I understand all of that. But every time I think about welcoming Chloe back into my life, I picture Emma reading those messages alone in the middle of the night, realizing the two people she trusted the most had been lying to her for years. I don't know if I can move past that. My family says I'm punishing Chloe forever for something she already deeply regrets. I feel like I'm simply refusing to pretend it never happened. Am I the asshole? I know a lot of people are used to seeing cheating posts and always thinking they are fake. But what would you do if you were in my shoes? So this person listed some relevant or top comments. Commenter 1 says, "Not the asshole. She's not genuinely remorseful. She's sad she got caught and is facing consequences. Can't you have a relationship with your grandson via his father? Tell your sisters to mind their own business. This is between you and your daughters, nothing to do with them." OP responds, "I can kind of have a relationship with him, but the problem is that he wants his child to grow up closer to his own family, who lives in another city rather than his ex-wife's family." I mean, I personally can't think of anything my kid would do that would cause me to cut her off permanently, but I would probably take a break for a while to organize my feelings. There is 100% nothing that could happen that would make me willing to cut off my grandkid. What Chloe did was unforgivable, but I would ask you, how would you feel if something happened to Chloe right now? How would you feel? If you don't feel anything, then you have your answer about what you want to do. OP responds, "It depends on what happens to her. If she's struggling with her mental health or gotten into an accident, I would obviously help her like a mother would. I admit I might have been harsh when I told her for the foreseeable future, but I was thinking of my daughter Emma and how she would be feeling right now. I love both my daughters equally from the moon and back, but I'm just torn in this decision." Commenter 3, "Not the asshole. You have a daughter that has been completely destroyed by her own sister and her own husband. She's the one that needs your support, not the one who chose to cheat on her husband with her own sister's husband. She's made the conscious decision for 4 years. That's not forgivable in my eyes. She made the decision. She can face her own consequences. I'm sure her soon-to-be ex-husband will still allow you to be part of your grandson's life. Reach out to him and let him know that you are not speaking to her. And just be there for Emma and her kids." Opie says, "Thank you so much. I have reached out to him but haven't heard anything back yet." That could be just because, like, he's processing things, and also he might want some distance as of right now, but I do think it's not fair if he does keep you from the kids, because, like, you didn't do anything. And also, I agree that she should step back from Chloe and focus on Emma, because Emma does need the support, whereas, like, Chloe literally did that all on her own volition. Like, she can cope. She can go to therapy and cope, and then, I don't know, if, like, in a couple of years you decide to speak to your daughter again, like, that's just your own decision. The update: am I the asshole for cutting my daughter out of my life after she had an affair with her sister's husband? I know it's very early for me to post an update, and I wasn't planning on it, but after reading the comments on my first post, I decided I needed one final conversation with Chloe before I completely closed the door. I went to her house yesterday and I expected her to be emotional after calling me 82 times in one day, but she was surprisingly calm. I asked her the one question I still couldn't understand: why? She admitted she'd been attracted to Emma's husband for years. She said what started as admiration eventually became feelings, and over time they crossed the line. Instead of ending it, they kept convincing themselves it would be the last time. She insisted she regretted everything. I asked if she'd spoken to Emma. She told me the only contact she'd had was the one text before Emma blocked her on everything. Emma told her she'd destroyed their family, taken away her children's stable home, and that she hoped the affair had been worth losing a sister forever because, as far as she was concerned, Chloe no longer had one. Emma blocked her immediately afterward. Valid! Chloe also admitted she later waited outside the school gates hoping to speak to Emma when she came to collect the kids. Oh my god! Like, you made a mistake. Like, you fucked up. Leave her alone. Give her space. Emma refused to speak to her, warned her to stay away from her and the children, and told her that if she ever approached them again, she'd regret it. Chloe left crying. I told Chloe her waiting outside the school was completely inappropriate regardless of her intentions. She insisted she only wanted to apologize and prove she cared about Emma. I then asked if she truly felt remorse. That's when I completely lost my patience. Instead of taking full responsibility, Chloe started telling me Emma's marriage had already been falling apart, that Emma and her husband had been drifting apart for years, and that he often confided in her. She admitted the affair was wrong, but repeatedly tried to place part of the blame on Emma, saying if their marriage had been happier, none of this would have happened. Okay, you're so the asshole. Not the OP, but Chloe is so the asshole. Oh my god. I was furious. I honestly couldn't believe I had raised someone capable of thinking like that. I told her there's no marriage bad enough to justify secretly sleeping with your own sister's husbands for 4 years. I told her I wasn't just disappointed, I was ashamed that she was my daughter. The more she tried to justify herself, the angrier I became. The conversation eventually turned it to her own divorce. She talked about how difficult everything had been for her and how her husband still plans to move to Washington with their son to be closer to his family. She said she may have to move there too if she wants to stay close to him. As she spoke, I realized almost everything was about what she had lost: her marriage, her home, her reputation, and possibly seeing her son every day. Very little of it was about Emma or the damage she'd caused. At the end of the conversation, Chloe asked if we were cool now. I told her no, we were not cool, and we might never be. I said that if I ever found it in my heart to reconcile with her, it would be on my own terms and in my own time, not because she thought one conversation could erase 4 years of lies and betrayal. I walked out feeling angrier than when I arrived. I honestly don't know what to do anymore. I love both of my daughters, but after that conversation, I'm not convinced Chloe understands the pain she's caused. Saying that you're so remorseful and then having this whole conversation trying to convince someone that you're remorseful, but it's all about you. You don't even care about the person that you hurt. This Reddit story has a trigger warning for obsessive behavior and sexual harassment. My F27 flatmate, F27, has told my boyfriend, M31, she's in love with him. I, F27, moved into my flat in October of last year to take the place of a mutual friend of mine and my new flatmate, F27. We have a generally great atmosphere in the flat, and both have similar expectations and habits, and while we're not friends yet, as in we wouldn't go out for brunch or be each other's +1s for parties, we are very friendly. She seems super normal and level. When the lockdown began, March, my boyfriend, M31, of 2 years, was living with his sister and his mother, undergoing chemo, who lived alone, needed somewhere to stay where she could be looked after. So she moved into his room and he came to stay with us. My flatmate was totally fine and we had a proper chat about ground rules, etc., but ultimately the flat is huge for 2 people and she has kind of a granny flat setup in hers. Either way, she gave definite approval. Now, we 3 got on great, but never really spent a ton of time together. We all work from home and spend the occasional evening playing games or whatever, but ultimately we didn't mingle much more than before. My boyfriend, however, cooks every night for the both of us as a thank you, and so we do now eat together, and my flatmate seemed happy to be included. It was great. However, last week, my boyfriend took me aside and told me that while he was in the courtyard hanging out the washing, she ambushed him from behind and gave a huge speech about how she's in love with him, and while she respects he's with me, she has deep feelings for him, and that she's available if he were single. Oh, and please don't tell OP. She didn't try to kiss him, but tried to hold his hand. He was very anxious and flustered when he was telling me this. The flat atmosphere is very awkward now, but as far as she knows, he's not said a word. She's not said anything else to him, but he did mention that she had touched his arm a couple of times as she was walking past recently, and it's really gotten under my skin. My boyfriend is also confused because he hasn't spent that much time with her apart from dinner and never alone. I spoke to our mutual friend who was shocked and says she's never done anything like this before and she'd never known my housemate to have a crush on anyone either. I have not seen her acting strangely in other ways, and it hasn't outwardly affected how she treats me. We can't move right now because virus, money, etc. How do I deal with this? Relevant comments. Someone asked, did OP's boyfriend make it known nothing will happen? OP responds, he told her he wasn't interested, and when she tried to grab his hand, he yanked it away and hot-footed it back inside. I've already spoken to him and questioned whether or not he told her he was going to tell me, and he didn't. I've already explained that frustrates me, and he's extremely anxious not to be around her. This is an update that the OP gave 3 days later. Okay. Firstly, thank you for your advice, and no thank you to the few who took it upon themselves to DM me to be inappropriate or creepy. What the fuck? Read the room. It gets a little intense, so first I'll just cover some things I wasn't able to in my original post. I trust my boyfriend completely. Even if I didn't, this apartment is large, not massive. I know where that beloved motherfucker is 24/7. A lot of you asked when after my housemate's confession, he told me about it. He told me a couple of hours afterwards. He explained to me after we had a chat about it that he was afraid I wouldn't believe him or be angry, because at first he thought it was a weird joke that made him uncomfortable, and he felt, rightly so, weirded out. I agree with the bulk of you that her continued touching is harassment, and while a number have suggested he just confront her himself, I empathize with being in a situation without breathing room where someone is sexually harassing you. It's not easy, and you can quickly find yourself unsure if those brief moments of crossing a line happened. He's not on our lease, and understandably, he was concerned about me and the power dynamic in the house. Because her room is a mini granny flat, she pays the bigger share. I also don't believe that it was, as some suggested, a hypomanic episode. I have BB2, and while I understand the love rush, she exhibited zero other behaviors and never tried to contact my boyfriend outside of the weird touching. I also can appreciate there's no way she was actually in love. So, yesterday, after a tense few days of trying to avoid her, my boyfriend and I were in the kitchen at breakfast with her in the living area. I went to our bathroom, she has an ensuite, which is just off the main area, to brush my teeth. I walked back out to grab my phone as she was sliding behind my boyfriend, who was looking in the fridge, and caught her running her hand and forearm across his lower back where his tea had ridden up a little. My boyfriend, who didn't see me, yelped really loudly and just lost it. He yelled at her to stop, and when they both saw me, he starts going, "You see? You see? This is what I was talking about." I was furious, just whole body anger, and I could see how she realized he had told me about her confession slash behavior, and just sprinted to her room and slammed the door. My boyfriend and I went out for a walk to calm down, and he kept apologizing for not being more firm, but he was shaken up. Some of you told me I should just confront her head on, which in the moment I 100% sided with. I was so angry for him. He told me he'd rather give her the opportunity to do it diplomatically. I appreciated what you guys said about the lockdown being extenuating, and in discussion with our mutual friend, I was willing to believe that an element of it was naivety and a bit of fantasy gone too far. I was willing to be kind to her. When we returned with a plan of action, we knocked on her door, but she didn't answer. We tried a couple of times, but she wouldn't come out, although she was seeing my WhatsApp messages. Come late afternoon, I was just so over it, so I knocked and told her I was coming in. I sat her down on the bed and I told her gently but firmly it was inappropriate, making us uncomfortable, told her she had to get the hell over it, slash herself, if she intended to continue to live with us. She bursts into tears and starts crying about how she's so sorry and what a bad person she is. She can't believe the pressure of lockdown is getting to her, whatever, and I felt bad. Started sympathizing, trying to be a compassionate, and then she says, "It's just so unfair that the guy I'm in love with has a really great girlfriend." Reader, I lost my shit. Unfair my ass. I told her she had a lot of growing up to do and perspective to learn, and that she owed the house an apology. She started to have a meltdown, a full weeping, hiccuping, snotty meltdown. And then when I stood up to leave, I spotted in her clothes rack my freaking shirt. I took it and went back to my room. On top of that, she's fucking flirting with your boyfriend and stealing your clothes. Oh hell no! My housemate cried loudly with the door open until 7 p.m. (parentheses for attention) when I cracked. I used our emergency contact sheet, called her mom, told her she had to come pick up my housemate. I've never met this woman who came rushing in like a superstar, but the look of annoyance and embarrassment on her face when she arrived and found her 27-year-old daughter having a tantrum told me this wasn't a new part of her personality. My housemate also shut the fuck up pretty quickly after she realized her mom was there. They didn't say anything to us. We just hid in our room until they were gone. I think she'll be gone for at least a while, but I texted her to let her know it'd be best if she texted me before she came back. I don't know when I'll see her. Technically, the lease ends in August, so my boyfriend and I think we can make it work and find someone new. And if not, it's not so long till we can resign without her. Honestly, the best course of action, in my opinion, is take her off the lease and then just have you and your boyfriend move into the bigger part of the apartment and then find someone else to go on into the other room. That just seems like the most appropriate thing to do, because then you wouldn't have to deal with someone crushing on your boyfriend. As a coda to all this, my boyfriend mentioned if she took a blouse, maybe she took other stuff too. I appreciate some of you may consider this as an invasion of privacy, but I did go back in just to check the clothes rack. I found a set of my jeans, my t-shirt, one of my boyfriend's work shirts, a vinyl I owned, my fucking charm bracelet from when I was a kid from inside my jewelry box, and a sheet from my old antidepressants. This was just what was on the rack slash on display. I imagine there's more in the drawers. I don't know if this was the right thing to do, but I left them there for now because I don't want there to be any doubt she stole them. There's zero chance she's going to live here anymore. Honestly, I hope she does get help. I'm really angry and violated, as is my boyfriend, but I can empathize with this havoc an uncontrolled mental health issue can wreak on your behavior, and while it's still wrong, it still sucks for her to have to experience it and lose friends. No, I can't be sure, none of us can, but I feel like maybe she has a histrionic personality disorder. TLDR, my relatively normal housemate who told my boyfriend she was in love with him turned out to also be a thief. Yikes. P.S. Our mutual friend has told me another friend who went to school with my housemate had told her a rumor she told a bunch of people in their year that she had leukemia. Yikes. One more update. It was posted one day after the first update. It says, hi, I don't know if this will go to the top or just get lost in the bottom, but I'm going to just go in and take my stuff. I think recording me doing it might be weird and legally iffy. I'm also not really concerned that she could be violent or aggressive if she came back. I think the whole situation has been pretty humiliating for her. It kind of seems like it's about eliciting attention or sympathy. How much she felt was genuine and how much was manufactured and magnified to feed that need, I don't know. I still hope she's okay. I've definitely let my health issues push people away before, albeit never so dramatically, so I don't think I'll be calling her crazy. My boyfriend pointed out that I wore my jeans last week and that we'd all been listening to that vinyl in the living room, in the living space a couple of weeks ago, so I'm kind of interested to see if this is maybe an episode or an ongoing but usually managed thing. I also switched my medication at the end of April, but I have zero clue if the foil pack I found was discarded last lot or taken before I changed. Anyway, thanks again for all the help and advice. My 26F friend, 26F, has accused me of stealing her boyfriend. Boyfriend, 25M, had no idea they were dating. Names changed to respect privacy and throwaway account. Honestly, no idea where to start with this, and sorry if it's long. I, 26F, have been friends with Carly, also 26F, since middle school. We lost touch after I moved out of state for law school, but our parents are still friends. I moved back to our home state last year when I graduated and met Matt, 25M. We bonded instantly as we're both studying to be lawyers. Matt should graduate this year if all goes well. Because of studying and work, we've taken things really slowly and only just recently became official. As we'd gone official, I decided to invite him to my sister's 21st birthday party. It was a huge party at my parents' house back in my hometown. Both Matt and I work and live separately about an hour away. We'd been at the party for about an hour when Carly arrived with her parents. I was excited to see her as I'd been meaning to get back in touch since I'd moved back. The timing had never been right. Well, Carly spotted us and hurried on over. I was surprised when she gave Matt a huge hug and asked him what he was doing at the party. Turns out they work in the same building, and Matt is friends with a few of Carly's friends. They've been out on group nights together a few times. I did the whole, oh Carly, this is my boyfriend Matt thing, and her face instantly fell. She looked furious with me and ignored me for the rest of the party. I sent her a message the next morning asking if I had done anything wrong. Carly blew up at me and accused me of stealing her boyfriend, and I soon got several rude messages from mutual friends said something similar. Sorry, it was a typo. I met up with Matt and I asked him what the hell was going on. I had assumed that once we'd made it official, we were exclusive. Matt had no idea what I was talking about. I relayed Carly's message and he was even more confused. He said that he got on with Carly when they saw each other, but it had never been anything more than a friendship. He didn't think anything of them spending time together outside of work with friends, so that's why I didn't know he and Carly worked in the same building. It's been a week since the party and I'm still getting messages from people saying how I could do that to Carly. I've tried saying over again that Matt and Carly weren't dating, but it's falling on deaf ears. Even my parents have heard about from Carly's parents. I have zero idea what the hell to do. Where do I go from here? I trust Matt completely, but what do I do about Carly? Edit. People have asked about the friends who have sent me messages. These are all mutual friends of myself and Carly who we've known since high school. None of them, as far as I know, have ever met Matt. None of his work friends who also know Carly have sent me messages. Also, I have spoken to Carly and we are meeting up tomorrow to talk. This commenter says, it seems you unintentionally busted up Carly's fantasy. Not your fault, not your problem. She's immature and full of drama. OP says she's never acted like this before and that's why it really rattled me. Sure, I haven't seen her much over the past few years, but she was never like this in high school as far as I can remember. Another commenter says, why can't you sit down with her and find out what the hell is going on? You're studying law in 26, not 15. You of all people should know that, but Matt said means absolutely squat. The truth is going to lay somewhere in the middle. Granted, you're not in the wrong either way, as that girl needs to realize there's no such thing as stole. He clearly wasn't into her. And for crying out loud, she's 26 running to her mommy and daddy. Like so many, God have her parents failed her big time. Opie says, I'm meeting her tomorrow. It would have been sooner, but I'm studying, working, or with Matt, so I don't have a lot of free time. The update was posted the next day. Well, I met up with Carly. They're not dating and never were, so Matt isn't a cheater. I met up with Carly this morning at a coffee shop in our hometown. She wasn't happy to be there, but I'm over her feelings after the past week I've had. I sat her down and asked her to give me her side of the story. I told her exactly what Matt had said to me and asked for her to explain everything. Carly met Matt last year, not long before I moved back to the state. A mutual friend in the building they both worked in invited Matt to after work drinks, and that's when they met. Carly thought he was cute and started flirting with him. Sidebar. Matt is awful at picking up flirting cues. It took weeks of me flirting with him until he realized and asked me out. This is something I always find amusing because Matt himself is really outgoing with a lot of charisma. No, they never spent any time alone together apart from the odd run to a coffee shop near their building to grab lunch. I went through Carly's phone and there are no messages from Matt apart from the ones in their group chat. They haven't kissed or slept together. Carly has never been to Matt's apartment and Matt has never been to Carly's apartment. I asked her why she thought he was her boyfriend. This is a direct quote. Okay, so we're not officially boyfriend and girlfriend yet, but I was sure he was going to ask me really soon. He's always smiling at me and making jokes. I know he was going to ask me out, just the two of us. Okay, girl, you're delusional. Like, what? I basically said, Carly, that's not him flirting with you. That's just Matt. He's a friendly guy. I'm sorry, but he and I have been seeing each other for a while now, so it's not going to happen. I explained how we'd been taking it slow because of us both being so busy with studying and work, so we've only just made it official. As I said all this, I could see Carly's elaborate fantasy crumble. I asked her to please set the record straight with her parents, for my parents' sake, and with our mutual friends. Carly looked flustered, but mumbled something that sounded like, yeah, fine. I said I was sorry for this misunderstanding, and hopefully we could all put this behind us. On my drive to Matt's apartment, I called him to relay everything. He was baffled by the whole thing, but said he would message Carly. Once I got there, he showed me the text. Hey Carly, look, I'm sorry if I misled you in any way with my actions. Please know they have only ever been from a friendly place. I see us as friends, but that's all. I hope we can be friends in the future once this is all blown over, but if you're not comfortable with that, then I respect it. All the best, Matt. Carly hasn't responded yet, and I don't know if she will. Hopefully she will set the record straight with everyone. I'm washing my hands of this mess and focusing on my relationship with Matt and my studies. That girl is delusional. Like, okay, that's all I'm reading today.